In this video, I'm going to share with you how to actually build consistency in trading. Most traders already have the routine, the processes, the systems, the plan, the strategy, but they just find it difficult to execute consistently so that they can have consistent, profitable results that they desire. So in this video, I'm going to break down, I'm going to share different analogies and precepts and ideas that can allow you to build for yourself a blueprint that you can use to develop a system that's going to help you to become consistent in trading. Inconsistency doesn't happen randomly. There is always a pattern. There is always a trigger that makes you shift from consistency to inconsistency. Now, reality just is life happens. Everyone is going through a lot, but your way of responding to what happens is greatly going to determine what happens afterwards. Everyone is tested constantly. Before you level up to the next stage, there is always going to be a test. And if that test causes you to fall back to where you're coming from, then it means that you are simply not ready. Now, it gets very frustrating because you know that your state of mind determines your ability to cross over to the next stage. But because you are constantly getting frustrated or being in doubt of your system or yourself, your abilities, and all of that, it it makes you become worried or scared that the way you are responding to the situation is not really right, and you focusing on that is now going to perpetuate the inconsistency that happened, and all of that most probably came from one trigger. What is that one trigger? I mentioned in the previous video that you need to pay attention to the kind of thoughts that you have throughout the day, making sure that the thoughts you have never deviate from your belief, your systems, or your identity. And sometimes it can deviate, but the beautiful thing about success is that you don't have to be right every single time. You just have to be right most of the time. And that brings me to consistency. Consistency is about following a repeatable, proven system that actually works over time. A lot of mistakes that people make is that they are not consistent, and they don't realize they are not consistent because they think they are being consistent. Let me explain it this way. Let's say you order for a package on Amazon, and you set an address, you give an address there on Amazon when you place the order, but before the package actually arrives at your address, you've already changed address, right? You were not consistent with the address you gave them, and when the package comes, no one is home to receive the package. And in most cases, maybe someone comes and takes your package and moves away. But because you've changed your address, you don't even know that your package was delivered to the old address that you gave them. And you just remain in the new address, hoping that the delivery would come to your new address. But that is not how it works. You need to be consistent. Now, you can extrapolate this to your trading journey or your experience or whatever. You know within yourself that there are certain things that you know you should be doing consistently, but you're not. You do it sometimes, you do it when you feel like doing it. Consistency is built and maintained through structure. You need structure in your system, in your day to day routine and processes in order to maintain consistency. Because again, life happens, everyone is constantly tested. Before you transition into the next level, you are tested. And if you fail that test, it means that you remain in the same level. But in order to pass that test, you need to continue doing the thing that has gotten you to the border of the new level you desire to be in. That thing that got you to the border is the same thing you need to keep on doing, no matter how strong the force behind the border is, no matter how strong the walls of the borders are. You need to continue doing those things to push through the border and into your new level. A lot of people, when they get to the border, they push, they realize that they need more effort, or it's not as effortless as it was to get to the border, and then they quit. They go and look for another process or system to follow. Maybe that's going to be easier to get around the border. And before you know it, you have so many processes that you've started, but you have not continued it. Take note of this: results follow consistency. Now, I talk about the Amazon package earlier, right? That is, you need to be consistent. The address you gave them to Amazon when you placed your order, that is the same address you need to maintain in order for you to receive your package. In the same way, whatever routine or process or system that you follow, you need to make sure you remain with that system. There is a form of resistance that you face when you are about to level up to the next phase. See it like this: there is a certain system or process that you follow, and you keep following the system. It's like smooth sailing. But when you get to the border, the brick wall of going into the next phase of your journey, you feel some resistance. A lot of people, when they feel the resistance, they just feel like the system they are following doesn't work. And then that's where they start system hopping, or they start switching strategies and all of that because of that little resistance. But the truth is that the process that got you to the border is the same process that must get you through the border. Now, it's not about intensity. I'm not saying when you get to the border and it feels resistance that you must try harder or push more and work harder and all of that. No, consistency is not about intensity. It's about doing the same things over and over and over again, and you rely on compounding to do the heavy lifting. Perfect analogy just came to my mind. When you think of a cave, or let me say a rock, and you have a drop of water hitting that rock, right? At the start, it looks like nothing is happening, but because of the consistency of the water dropping on it for years on end, come back to that rock, you're going to realize that there's a whole carving, or there's a hole in there, because of the consistency, not the intensity, but the consistency of the water hitting the rock. That is a perfect analogy to illustrate to you that it's not about intensity, it's about consistency. I need you to take your mind away from the timelines or whatever. I don't know where people get these imaginary timelines from. There is no such thing as a timeline. There is only when you are ready, you go into the next phase. So, what I'm saying is that the same process or system that gets you to the border is the same process and system that's going to get you through the border, to break through the wall, not with intensity, but with consistency. Consistency is what makes the difference. Consistency in doing the right things consistently is what differentiates consistent traders, consistent profitable traders, from inconsistent losing traders. No pun intended. So, this is the process that I follow that has brought me consistency. Now, I'm going to share this the way I do it. I know that some of you watching may come from different time zones or different environmental situations. So just see this as a guide to create your own structure if you don't have one, or to refine your structure. I'm going to share the reason why I do certain things the way I do them, so that when you are creating your structure according to your situation or circumstance, you are able to know the reason why certain things need to be done. So my day starts the night before. The night before, just before I go to bed, I get my mind into a calm state to be relaxed. Then I go onto the charts. I do an end of day forecast. An end of day forecast is where I check the the daily candle close to see how the market is closed, and it gives me an idea of what movement to expect the next day. So there I'm able to, every week I have about 10 pairs on watch. I trade, at the moment I just trade 28 currency pairs. So every week I only have like 10 or 12 pairs on watch for the whole week. And each day I'm not looking at 12 pairs, I'm looking at like two, three, or four pairs at max for the whole day. So that end of day forecast, I call it a risk grading process that allows me to refine out of these 10 pairs which ones look good for the next day, which ones look like they're really going to provide me quality setups according to my trading plan. What I do is that I take those pairs and I put them in the section of the daily focus. Now, that daily focus is what I'm going to focus on the whole day, the next day. So after my end of day forecast, I write out my activities, the things that I'm going to do for the next day, needle moving goals, at least five of them, and then I go to bed. Then when I wake up in the morning, I do my confessions, remain in a calm state. Then I come back to the charts to see what has happened through the Asian session. Now, through the Asian session is when my sequence tends to shape up. I look at the improvement of the pairs that I haven't watched. Sometimes they get invalidated, and sometimes the ones that I didn't select to be in the daily focus the previous night, sometimes they become better, and then I just swap them around, and then these three pairs are what I watch the whole day. So after that, I just get onto my daily routine, those processes and steps that I wrote out to follow to achieve the next day. I get started with them. I only spend a lot of time during the end of day forecast and the morning forecast. I spend maybe 10 to 20 minutes taking my time to really forecast what could happen through the day. And then when I have my three pairs on watch, I set alerts and I set alarms to let me know when price has reached an area of interest for me, an area where I need to take action or I need to pay more close attention to it. So that way I don't have to stare at the charts through certain sessions, or I have to like forsake everything else and just focus on the charts. No, I can just get busy with my day, do all the things that I wrote out to do and all of that. When I get my alerts, then I will pick up my phone or go to the laptop and see what has happened and what action is needed to be taken. I look out for my entries basically. And that's what happens through the day. If I get any trades, I take it. If there are no trades, I don't take any trades. And then I just repeat the system. And then at the end of the day, I review my performance for that day. I look at how I performed, how I behaved, the thoughts that I carried through the day. I take note of all those things in my journal and I reflect what areas need improvement, what areas need refining, what things do I do well, what things do I double down on, and all of that. And then the process just repeats. Every single day, I follow this process. A lot of times I don't feel like following the process. A lot of time I don't even feel like doing anything. But I know that following this is what's going to consistently bring in the results that I desire. So it doesn't matter how I feel. I've made a decision that every single day I'm going to follow this system, and that's that. There is no negotiations involved. I just get up and I do it. Now, it may differ in your time zone to apply this, but I want you to see this as a guide as to the reason why I do certain things. I do the end of day forecast so that I can know the positioning of the pair for the next day, and I know which ones are not positioned well. The pairs that are positioned well, I put them on daily focus, and then I ignore the others. So that way I don't have to deal with a lot of pairs on watch for the day. It allows me to be extra focused. When I wake up in the morning, I was sleeping throughout the Asian session. So when I wake up in the morning, I see what price has done through the Asian session. And then I know what to look out for the rest of the day through the London session and through the New York session. And by following this process, it allows me to stay focused. Even when I'm busy with my activities in the day, I'm not constantly stressing about what's happening in the markets. I have my alerts, I have my alarms. That's going to notify me when I need to take action. If I don't get any of those notifications, then I know that I don't need to take any action in the markets, and then I can just get on with whatever I'm busy with in the day. The reason I do the end of day review is so that I can highlight what negative traits may have creeped on me through the day, what negative thoughts may have popped up, and by taking note of these things, I prevent it from causing harm to my system. Now, following a system consistently is going to allow you to remain consistent even when life throws you curveballs, even when life gets tough, even when things just happen that try to throw you off your flow. You follow this system and be focused with it over and over and over again. You will constantly have the results you desire, because results follow consistency. Results follow consistency. By being consistent with a system that works, you will constantly have the results consistently. Another area you also need to be consistent in is how you approach your trades. Every trading system has certain rules as to what needs to happen before you execute or what needs to happen for you to get out. It is very important that you are very, very clear on that. Don't make up decisions based on what you are seeing in the market or what you feel like is going to happen. That is very wrong. That doesn't promote consistency. That is very inconsistent. See it this way. In order to remain consistent, your approach to everything you do in trading needs to be consistent, not just in trading, but in life in general. In order to be consistent in anything, your approach must always be consistent. So that way they can complement each other. So you need to make sure that you have clear rules on what needs to happen for you to enter a trade. You need to have clear rules on what needs to happen for you to exit a trade. And you need to have clear rules as to when to just not take the trade at all, the invalidation. So having these sets of approaches, keeping it as simple as possible, that is what's going to allow you to follow the system. And that is how to actually become consistent in trading. In the next video, I talk about who you need to become in order to effortlessly be consistent in trading.